I've always heard that Bleach was the worst big three anime and that when it comes to the animated series, it aged pretty poorly. But is it true?
Stay a while and listen.
Hey everyone, Schmatson here, and today I would like to talk about Bleach and my first impressions because I've decided to watch it for the first time in 2025. But before I get to that, I would like to share the perspective of Bleach I had before I even watched the first episode. As we all know, Bleach is part of the Big Three. The term Big Three refers to the three most popular and influential shonen anime of 2000s: Naruto, One Piece, and obviously Bleach. These series were called the Big Three because they dominated weekly manga sales, TV ratings, and global popularity during their peak. When it comes to my relationship with Big Three, I watched both Naruto Shippuden twice, and I'm up to date with One Piece, both manga and anime. When it comes to Bleach, I've never seen it, and I can't even remember ever seeing like a manga panel from Bleach. And what I also noticed is that both One Piece and Naruto fandoms like to shit on Bleach a lot. I mean, they like to shit on everything, but that's another topic. I've also always had that feeling that Bleach is the least popular Big Three series, simply because, you know, you'll often come across a rage bait like, oh, this guy from Naruto or One Piece verse solos everyone in your anime, or some other low tier bait. But what I'm getting to is that you will rarely see a thread like that done by Bleach fans. And to me, it can mean two things. No one gives a fuck about Bleach, or Bleach fans aren't 15 years old Twitter users. So this is pretty much the reason why in my eyes Bleach always had that title of the worst out of Big Three. However, I've never seen it myself, and saying how mostly negative people always have been about it is what finally pushed me to check it out. So currently I'm 20 episodes in, and today I would like to share my first impressions and thoughts so far about Bleach. Let's start with episode 1. Yes, because I went with anime, not manga. I'm not gonna do a full recap of 20 episodes that I've watched, but it is the first episode, and to me, first impressions are very important, so I would like to pay some more attention to it, and just letting you know. Episode 1 is a rough start. The episode starts off with main character Ichigo beating up some punks. We learn that he can see spirits, and those punks accidentally trashed the nearby memorial site of a little girl that died here and didn't bother fixing it after being nicely asked to do so. So our boy Ichigo gave it to them. Well, nothing special here really. I would say this is a pretty classic MC behavior and introduction, beating out some punks, giving off some badass vibes. So far, alright. However, right after that, this guy showed up. Ichigo's dad. Listen, don't get me wrong. After watching 20 episodes, I can say that I kinda like him, and I have this feeling that he might become a somewhat more important character to the story. However, so far, he was mostly used as a comedic relief. An annoying comedic relief. Even though after 20 episodes that I can say that I like him, I just can't ignore his presence in episode 1, because it was so awful. He gets introduced as this loud, annoying character that is obsessed with his $2. He also always tries to beat up Ichigo for whatever reason. To this day, I'm still not sure if it's just a gag or there was some kind of logic explanation that I've missed, but it is annoying. He's just loud, and he becomes louder. It just really felt like we got introduced to a bunch of whatever characters that have nothing going for them, and they are here to serve as a one big gag, at least so far. But I guess it's nice to see that a protagonist actually has family for a change and isn't an orphan. But to be honest, I felt like so far nothing really interesting happened. We haven't been introduced to any interesting character. There wasn't anything worth noticing. Like, yeah, okay, there's this girl appearing on the screen from time to time, and it feels like, you know, she's fighting someone here, she's like doing something, she's acting all mysterious, but you know, even that, it was like whatever. So I'm not gonna lie, so far I was straight up bored, and it was already like I was already 10 minutes into the episode. So I mean, so far something should have happened, and then yet another new character showed up. And if you were waiting for me to say something positive, well, now is the time. Rukia. That girl came just in the right time to save the first episode. Right as I was straight up dying of boredom, she showed up and saved the first episode for me. Hell, she is the #1 reason why I even continued to watch Bleach in the first place. And yes, I do realize that Rukia is the girl that I just mentioned, you know, the mysterious one that appeared and was fighting someone. But that changes nothing. That whole sequence was still like, whatever. It was too mysterious for its own good. But okay, who is this girl? Like, what's the big deal here? Rukia is the Soul Reaper that came to the human world from a place called Soul Society. She explains to Ichigo and the viewers a concept of Soul Reaper and Soul Society using some advanced drawing skills of hers. We learn that her job is to exorcise spirits that are dangerous to humans and other peaceful spirits. In short, hollows. Obviously, Rukia and other Soul Reapers are not visible to anyone who can see spirits, which she's surprised as to why Ichigo could see her and interact with her in the first place. But as Rukia continued to show off her inner artist, she got interrupted by a hollow that just attacked Ichigo's sisters. Rukia and Ichigo both rush towards a hollow, and obviously Ichigo, being not prepared at all to fight such a creature, decides to fight a 1v1. Classic MC behavior. Well, he almost gets to die, but Rukia intervenes and blocks Hollow's attack aimed at Ichigo, while at the same time taking a hit herself, which results in her being unable to continue the fight. Ichigo agrees to make a pact with Rukia and becomes a temporary Soul Reaper himself through a ritual that lets him borrow some of Rukia's powers. Using his new power, he finishes off the hollow, and that's how episode 1 ends. What? It's over? I'll be honest, it felt like it was just getting good and then like, hey, roll the credits, good episode 1 is not allowed around here. I was pretty mixed about what I've just watched, and to be honest, if I were to recommend Bleach to anyone after watching only one episode, I don't think I would do it. You can't really tell what's going on, what's the story, what's Ichigo's goal, there is not a single catching point that would force the viewer to continue. I mean, unless you count Rukia, cause that's what made me continue in the first place. But aside from her, not a single character piqued my interest. The cast so far seemed very boring and generic. In comparison to One Piece and Naruto, after watching the first episode, we already know or can at least assume what kind of person Luffy and Naruto both are. We can tell what is their goal, or at least get the idea what is going on. However, with Bleach, after watching episode 1, it felt like I knew nothing. Ichigo was very whatever to me, and the only likable character to me was Rukia. But this series is like, what, 300 episodes long? Excluding fillers, of course. So I don't feel like rating it after watching only one episode is like a fair thing to do, because there are a lot of series that suck. Like their first episode is straight up terrible, but the rest of the series is amazing. And who knows, it could be the same case with Bleach, so let's not make that mistake and actually watch the next episode. And you know, I've said that I'm not gonna do a recap here, but I'll just start with the beginning of episode 2, because I've complained about characters a lot, and that is when we are introduced to a bunch of new characters, and they are just as bad as Ichigo's dad. Trust me, the cast, whenever a new characters get introduced, it's awful. It feels like they are the most generic cast ever. Like, you know, you have this girl, Orihime, a big titty clumsy girl. Like, you have seen this kind of character countless times. Oh, look at this dude, the smart guy wearing glasses. Like, wow, I've never seen that guy before. There's also this dude, the one expression on my face, man. You know, there's also them. Like, okay, let's just call them them. And you can't blame me for forgetting their names. That's how irrelevant they are. I don't know if you get what I mean, but you know, when a new character appears and you feel like you know everything about him already, even though it is their first time on screen, I'm actually genuinely curious if I have this feeling because I'm watching Bleach in 2025. I'm aware that a lot of shonens took inspiration from Big 3. I guess it could be the reason why I'm so prejudiced. Like, you know, Ichigo's intro, I have seen it. Orihime, like, trust me, I've seen it. Itachi, but to make it simple, after 20 episodes, do I think that the characters in Bleach are bad? No. They just need way more time than usual to become likable and to make you intrigued about them. While in comparison to One Piece and Naruto, there are tons of characters that are likable from the start, including protagonists. In Bleach, I only really felt that way about Kisuke and Rukia. No, I like them from the start. And it is not that I hate Ichigo or don't like him. In the beginning, I didn't really like him, but being 20 episodes in, I can say that he is cool and likable. He just needs that one moment which will make me fall in love with him, just like it was with Naruto and Luffy. And I feel like such a moment is coming. It will be there soon, based on how episode 20 ends, but hey, no major spoilers, so maybe I'll get to talk about it some other time. To finish off the character subject and switch to the topic of the main plot, I would like to briefly talk about Rukia. After events from episode 1 and sharing her Soul Reaper powers with Ichigo, Rukia needs some time to regenerate her powers, which is why Ichigo willingly took over her duties as Soul Reaper. So from now on, we follow them dealing with hollows that target Ichigo's friends. This may seem like a villain of the week scheme, but it works perfectly here, and gives just enough time to develop every character that I have had issues with before. Yes, even that one. But what this scheme does best is capture the relationship between Ichigo and Rukia. These two have a great dynamic and I just loved watching them together. She truly is the MVP, and without her this anime wouldn't be the same, and it is really interesting to follow her. Villain of the Week scheme really helps us see how she gets more and more attached to the human world, which seems to worry her. The main plot of Bleach as for now remains unknown. Who's the main villain? We don't know. What is Ichigo's final goal? Does he want to become Pirate King or Hokage? We don't know. I mean, yeah, he claims that he wants to protect his loved ones, but there surely will be something more to that statement. All we know so far is that there are Hollows, which are the bad guys. And there's this place called Soul Society, which is... yeah, what is Soul Society? Are they the good guys? Are they also bad guys, but not as bad as Hollows? All we know for now is that Soul Society is kinda like a home for Soul Reapers, and I feel like for now that's all I can say about it. Since Bleach is a shonen, it's only appropriate if I talked about fighting scenes, but to be honest, we don't really get that much intel here either. So far it was mostly Ichigo singing his sword, and there are also some kind of incantations called Kido, but we have seen them in action like 4 times, so I guess it's still too early to say more. Also, every Soul Reaper sword and its abilities are unique, that's a cool concept. However, it feels like it's way too early to say more about the power system and what even defines a strong person in Bleach. What I can say for now is that I have enjoyed the fighting scenes, but I feel like that's what people mean when they say that Bleach aged kinda poorly. Bear in mind that it is over 20 years old anime, so at times it is really old school. But I would say fights are in general interesting to follow and definitely not boring to watch. Obviously it would feel unfair if I were to just, I don't know, rate it right now or compare it to some other shonens, because would it be fair to talk about fighting scenes in Naruto after watching only 10 episodes? Like, what would I even talk about? Sexy jutsu and shuriken jutsu? What I have seen so far when it comes to fighting scenes is nothing, and that I'm yet to see any serious fight. And only then I will be able to get a real picture of what fights in Bleach really look like, and what defines a strong person, but for now, I can't really say more. Touching on the last topic of this video, I would like to talk about music. The music is really good. I haven't mentioned it before, but early episodes of Bleach feel way more dark and mature in comparison to early One Piece and Naruto, for example. Music, along with art style, definitely helps to attain that thriller-like atmosphere when it's required. Obviously, the show can still be goofy and has its comedy moments, however, it knows how to attain that serious, gloomy mood when it matters. Also, I really need to give some praise to ending, because it is beautiful. And it definitely proves my point that music in Bleach gives a huge boost to the overall atmosphere of the show. Hearing this song after some more gloomy episodes, like, there's only one word that comes to mind: nostalgia, and I feel like that is such a huge word here because there's nothing nostalgic about Bleach for me. It is my first time watching it, so somehow being in that emotional state after finishing an episode definitely made me appreciate Bleach even more. But it's not only about ending. In general, the OST in Bleach is amazing. It's so beautiful. I am surprised that I've never got to hear it before, and I'm definitely glad that I finally got to experience it. Overall, I'm quite satisfied when it comes to the OST. So I guess it is time to answer the question: would I recommend watching Bleach in 2025? Definitely. Yes. However, you should be aware of its really slow and little boring start. There is no need to repeat myself. The first episode is below average, straight up horrible. But with each episode, it gets better and better, and for me, it raises above the average rating. It gets really high and stays there up until episode 20, cause that's where I stopped. With each episode, every character that I thought was boring, well, almost, became more likable. Some were likable from the very beginning, some urgently needed that extra screen time, and for some even that didn't work well. Main plot, who's the villain, Soul Society, and human world itself. For now, it's all a big question mark, but it seems promising, and personally I'm curious to see what's next, especially since the real first arc is about to start, and the premise feels like it's gonna be something completely different than the 20 episodes that I have watched so far. It is always fun to share your thoughts about something you haven't fully experienced yet, sharing something more than just first impressions, because once I'm done with Bleach, it will be really interesting to come back to this video and see how off or on point I was about some characters and plot. I praised Rukia a lot, and what if she becomes another Sakura? What if some mysteries that I thought were intriguing will end up forgotten or completely irrelevant? To be honest, I can't wait to find out, so I guess I'm off to watch some more Bleach. Obviously, there's more to Bleach than what I've covered in this video. There are some characters and moments in the story that I would like to talk about, however, I don't want this video to contain any major spoilers, and who knows, I might do another video in the future once I catch up. But again, when it comes to characters, just take a look at this little tier list that I've made if you are curious about characters that I didn't get to talk about in this video. What about you? Are you already done with Bleach? You're thinking of giving it a try? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you all for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.